Hey everyone, welcome to Amplify Digest. I'm your host Lars Schmidt, and each week I break down the top 5 articles and resources and all things people in about 5 minutes. All the articles I'm about to walk you through, you can go deeper on the Amplify Talent blog and subscribe to the newsletter if you want these updates and resources and more sent to your inbox each week. So I want to kick things off this week with this Forbes piece. It's an interview with Minda Hearts. Minda is the author of the memo and her most recent book, Right Within, where she explores racial trauma in the workplace. And I think especially for those of us in HR and people operations, both of those books are great resources for you to continue your own education in the space, but also the constant reminder that we need as we're building these new work practices that, building equitable practices has to be centered in all of our efforts as we're designing these new work constructs. And so definitely recommend you reading this article and this interview with Minda. Check out her books, follow her on Twitter. She's a great resource for you if you are interested in learning more about this space. The next piece that I want to get into is from Josh Burson. And Josh has a great article last week on shifting from kind of the great resignation to the great migration. And actually in it, he has lots of data that gets into some of the drivers behind the mobility that we're seeing in the workplace right now. And a lot of it is driven by people just looking to move into better jobs, better work situations. He mentions about 25% of workers are working remotely full time. And there's very little friction with leaving a job and moving to a new remote job in that environment. And so, as Josh always does, this piece is packed with data, so definitely recommend you to take a look at this. And this is probably going to be worth a bookmark so you can reference as well as we continue kind of navigating the pandemic, hybrid, return to workplace plans or not, and many other things that we're all grappling with right now in the people space. Here's another report from Pecan that I thought was also quite interesting. So shout out to Hung Lee for bringing this to my attention in his Recruiting Brain Food newsletter. Definitely subscribe to that as well. But it gets into a range of current factors of the world of work today and kind of more specifically employee sentiment today. It breaks it into 5 main categories. And what I like about the report is it also gives some actionable tips and advice on how you can be addressing each of those categories. So again, you can get the link to that report in the website, but definitely recommend you checking that out. And continuing with the theme of reports, this is a report from LinkedIn Talent Solutions, really kind of getting their perspective with their LinkedIn data on what they frame as the Great Reshuffle. And so, in it really kind of, gives a sense leveraging their database, which obviously LinkedIn's got a massive global database that allows them to track trends and mobility and transitions. And so it really will help you get some deeper context into what is happening, whether it's the Great Reshuffle, the Great Resignation, the Great Realignment. This thing's got more brands than Nestle, but that's okay. We all kind of know what this experience is and what we're talking about. And again, both those articles will give you some more data that'll be helpful there. And then one other resource that I want to flag to you, Remote. I've really been impressed with their embrace of open source over the last year. And specifically, their people team has been great about opening up some of their practices. And so they recently open sourced their performance review and feedback philosophy, methodology, approach. And it's a really meaty, free resource for those of you that are looking for some comparative data. So again, shout out to Nadia and the whole team at Remote for open sourcing that report. And you can find that, all the resources I walked you through and more on the Amplify Talent blog. And again, if you want all of these updates coming to your inbox each week, subscribe to the newsletter and you'll get that each Wednesday. That's a wrap for today. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you next week.